multiple best paper awards. Oh, Rajab Hoja has just joined us, so I'm gonna let him continue the introduction. I think he can do more justice as someone who knows and worked with Dr. Junaid personally. Okay, Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Rajab.
And
Thank you for joining, Hojam. Assalamu
yes,
alaikum.
Assalamu
السلام
alaikum wa
عليكم.
rahmatullah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. I am here to welcome our dear friend, colleague, Dr. Junaid Kadir, and I thank him for accepting our invitation to give this talk. And Dr. Junaid took the idea of multiplexity and he's now implementing it as an engineer. So an engineer perspective adds new dimensions to the idea and the concept of multiplexity. And this presentation will be a very interesting presentation about multiplex systemics, for AI governance and open civilization. You see that he's combining engineering perspective, AI, and also a civilizational perspective in the presentation. I would like to thank him once again for accepting our invitation, and I'm sure you will enjoy this presentation. Especially, we have students from engineering background. Sometimes, they wonder how to relate, how to combine their profession, engineering, with what we learn in Usul Academy. So it is a good example of how engineers can implement multiplex approach in their own profession, especially in the avant-garde areas like AI. May Allah bless our meeting, and inshallah, this will be a new opening for the multiplex perspective. So I would like to invite Dr. Junaid for his presentation. Assalamu alaikum.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. First of all, I'd like to thank our dear Sheikh Rajab for this very kind introduction, for the invitation to speak here, and for his guidance over some time that I've been working with him. So the topic for today is multiplex systemics for AI governance and open civilization. I am Professor Junaid Kadir. I am a computer engineering professor. I have an engineering background. However, I do work in AI ethics, AI in education, AI in healthcare, so many different domains. So inshallah, I'll try to focus more on how we can use ideas from multiplexity to provide a better alternative to the kind of AI we have and to enrich the current discourse about ethical AI and how to use AI effectively in different disciplines. So let me start. Initially, I will just highlight a very interesting quote. Seeing the current political situation across the world, we see we have great technology. Our AI is doing things which we could not have imagined just a few years ago. And for example, no one could have guessed that we would have computers generating language. We always thought language was a uniquely human skill. And even though computers could be good at calculations, but not language. But we have now seen also computers being able to simulate, generate language. So our scientific and technological progress is undoubtedly very impressive. However, are we keeping up in terms of the wisdom that is required, because the technology that we have now is very potent. And since we say that technology is a double-edged sword, do we really have the right mentality, the right training, even the right literacy to actually be in control? So the quote by Martin Luther King says that our scientific power has outrun our spiritual power. We have guided missiles and misguided men. SubhanAllah, he spoke much at that time. We would say that the technology of that time was primitive, but the challenge still remains. We see there's that technology is used as a tool for enslavement, genocide, domination, exploitation, manipulation, erasure of people. We see apartheid being automated, surveillance being implemented. All of these things are happening, and they are facilitated and enhanced by technology. However, this is not to say that technology itself is necessarily malevolent or it's even benevolent. It's a question of the accompanying system in which it is placed and for what purpose it is wielded. We should not think, and the philosophy of AI and the philosophy of technology, people who've been working on it, they know that AI is not neutral. It has an ecological effect. When it is used and it is deployed in a system, the system itself changes, and it changes the behavior of people. It even changes the very being of people. So there is this ontological effect as well, that your whole existence, it is somehow affected by the technologies around us. We see many books that have highlighted how technology can be used as a tool for oppression. So the main idea from here is, in what system is technology deployed? So if you have a capitalistic system, which the only aim there is to enhance money, that is what technology will do. It will concentrate money in very few corners of the world, and it will make some people very rich. So even we have fantastic technology these days, but we also see vast layoffs happening across many top tech companies. So we have to see what vision is being pursued. So Darren Asamoah, the Nobel Prize winning economist, he has written a few books, including some that have examined AI technology. He has obviously works also on development. He highlights that development is a divergent problem. And by divergent, it means something that is an ongoing problem. It's not merely a single time problem that can be solved using some technology and you solve it once and for all. No, divergent problems are such that they change their shape. They always remain there in some form. You can manage it. You can do well in it. However, it's never something that is completely solved. So in terms of development, we see that creating shared prosperity with technology, creating liberty in a society, creating independence, creating justice, all of these things, they are not merely technical problems. They, in fact, require social and political institutions that have checks and balances. And in those confines, technology can be great. However, since it's a divergent problem, it's a mistake to think that anything related to human development, be it education, be it the development of a healthy human being, it cannot be automated because it's a divergent problem. It's an ongoing problem, which you have to look at in a systemic, dynamic manner. There are other books as well, including one also by Asamoah, who in which they highlight that technology is not a substitute for capacity and institutions. It cannot substitute for human capacity institutions. It just amplifies intent, and capacity. And one important point is that technology does not automatically translate into shared prosperity. And in the book, he highlights how this has historically been the case. That as we went through the industrial revolution, as we had the computer, the IT revolution, it does not mean that more technology automatically means that everyone, including the people who are worse off in the society, the people who are in the global south, they are also benefiting from it. Because typically, if we have out of balance society, if we have people um, who are not spiritually alive, they will exploit people, they will manipulate people, they will try to extract benefit from others without really uh, ensuring that their technology results in uh, prosperity for all. So, from this, we see that AI is not automatically either good or bad, even though we see many negative, harmful outcomes emerging, we also have many positive outcomes. So it's important for us to look at this problem and think creatively what is it that we can do to create a better alternative? Because indeed, technology can be used for doing a lot of good. It can scale up your efforts. Anything you can do alone with technology, you can do it even better. However, if your purpose is not properly sorted, and if it's not a good purpose to pursue, you'll be doing the wrong thing even more vigorously, which is obviously going to lead to more harm. So I gather that at Usul Academy, most of you would already be aware of the multiplex model, which is something that was initially developed by Professor Rajab and described in this book, in which we tackle the world in its richness and we don't fall into reductionism, we don't fall into reducing reality into a model and thinking that the model is reality. And there are other pathologies related with reductionism as well. I will talk some about some of them. But the main idea is that multiplexity was, in fact, the default worldview of almost all the world before 200-300 years ago. And then the European world, they took a turn where, in pursuit of scientific progress, they severed themselves from some part of the reality and they said, okay, our science is going to be divorced from ethics and we're just going to focus on one kind of a particular rationality. And they made a lot of progress on it. However, this was at the cost of great impoverishment because of the reductionism. Now we have great technology, but we are now severed from the wisdom that will help us, which comes from looking at reality, from looking at language, even looking at human beings holistically. We know that, and we will describe that because in this lecture, our inspiration would be the Islamic worldview. We know that a human being is not merely just an information processor. And we know that a human being is not merely an animal. We are, in fact, multiplex creatures. We have an animal self and we have an angelic self. And our challenge is to live in this world and to do good by using the best of both these capabilities. So this requires us to take a multi-layered view of reality, of knowledge, understanding of language, even understanding of our own selves. Instead of either or thinking, either or reductionist thinking, we try to have more complete models of whatever we are studying. So this entails, as you might have seen in some of your courses, multiplex ontology, understanding that even existence has multiple levels. And sometimes you see the manifestation of something at a level, but the real cause, the deeper cause, is somewhere else. So we see this in healthcare, for example, assuming the biomedical model. We are just often, and this is recognized in the field as well, we are often just working with the symptoms rather than with the real causes. And the real causes may actually be there in the selves of the people, or it could be in their thoughts, or it could be in the overall paradigm according to which they are existing in the world. There is also this question of multiplex epistemology, multiplex methodology, which you can read more in the book. And I assume you would have seen this in your earlier courses. Multiplexity is actually needed for an open civilization. If we want to understand human beings in their full potential, we need to have this understanding that human beings are always becoming. We have ideals, we can always improve. So if we use any technology which is just extrapolating from the past patterns to predict the future, we are only going to be running on stereotypes, and we're going to be like we are driving a car looking at the rear view mirror. So that sort of prediction, even though it has some value, but thinking of that to be reality is a big problem. So when we have closed civilization, we are hegemonic, we are exclusivist, and we think that only one civilization is civilized and the other world is not civilized. So we dehumanize them, we plunder them, we extract their resources. We do anything with them because they're not human beings. However, if we have an open civilization, as Islamic civilizations have been, we recognize and appreciate the richness of diversity, even within our own community and even across traditions. And we know that Allah Ta'ala has created this for a useful end. And diversity in its own is actually something that makes the life rich. And it affirms the right to coexist for different people. And it is pluralist, and it allows for a flourishing society. And we've seen this in various Islamic societies, be it the Islamic Society in Andalusia, Spain, or in India, or the Osmani Caliphate in Turkey. So we have seen how Islam has been used in an environment where we have different languages, we have different races, we even have different sects. However, people have been able to work and live with each other peacefully, recognizing the value of this, and also seeing that these differences of language, of race, and everything, it actually is a good thing in many ways. However, we see that the modern AI, because of its tendency to concentrate resources and for its ability to scale up greatly. So you can have one LLM or one frontier model created by a Silicon Valley company, which serves millions of people, even billions of people. So when we have this case, you now have a problem of very large sizes. And now individual indigenous civilizations, they are underrepresented. So in the large frontier models we have, the power is concentrated in a few companies, and it's almost exclusively in some parts of US, and China has some AIs of really similar capability, but by and large, the global south is left behind. And because of the size these LLMs and AIs are operating at, other people cannot really do something which is similar in scope. And because of the size of these LLMs, and they require data to be uh, powerful, to be fully functional, they require continuous data. So there is this thirst for more and more, because of which they are continuing to extract resources, use water in places where already there is great scarcity. So we are forgetting, like we did when we contributed to the climate crisis in the 1960s and 70s, that when we use these resources, they are coming from somewhere. And we might have this facility for now, but is it really worth it that all of us, we excessively rely on these tools? It's like now we recognize that flying on an aeroplane is not very responsible if you do it very frequently. And now people are cutting down on their air travel. Eventually, people will also realize that any technology, it should have limits, and it should not be growing indiscriminately, because we need to look at balance. So growth is a value, but growth has to be counterbalanced by opposing values like stability, or like how sustainable will things be, and how much resources will be available for the future generations. So we can think of multiplexity as a new basis for AI governance. And for this, I have been looking at various thinkers in the Islamic tradition. In the Indian subcontinent, there has been a great scholar, Imam Shah Waliullah, who and whose students have articulated a philosophy of Islamic law, and a systematic philosophy that describes how do we create systems that are based in God-centered morality, but are actually focused on philanthropy, where philanthropy is a word which I'm using in a special sense, in which Urdu we call it insan dosti. And Sheikh Rajab told me that, in fact, insan dosti also is in Persian and in Turkish. So many people would be familiar with this. The general idea is we try to be, we try to create something that is good for all of humanity, not only for vested interest of some people. We follow what is called al-ray al-kulli, not al-ray al-juzzi. So this is the basis for AI governance that is needed, because we have been chosen as the last community that has been sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the community of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not just a private community. It's a community that has been sent out for creating goodness for the world. So we have to create systems that are not just for Muslims, they are for all Muslims, without any discrimination for their color, for their religion. We should have technology that's not only used by one nation against the innocent people of another nation, but it is we have a global system, and we work towards that. Initially, we work towards local systems, and then we keep on, we keep on making these advocacies and these efforts for creating larger and larger systems. Eventually, I'll come to that. How can these systems be built? But the general idea here is we need both philanthropy, humanism, as well as God-centered morality. Because if we only have humanism as we have with secular humanism, it is tampered in many cases. So in many cases, you do it when it's convenient for you, but when it goes against your vested interest, you do not do it. And that is the state of affairs with the modern governance organizations we have. That, for example, a few countries are hegemonic over all other countries, and they can veto anything and they can decide anything. It's not based on human equality, which is the basis which really should be the foundation of an AI governance system, in a real justice-based system, which Islam promotes. Again, Islam is not just ritualistics, it's not just individual worship. It's also, if we read the revelation, we see a very strong focus and emphasis on creating just systems and on being just. So this is something we have to think about, and I feel multiplexity is the right basis for this. And what we can call it a name, we can say it's focused on God-centered morality and on creating philanthropic technology. Because I argue that God-centeredness is the prerequisite for stable philanthropy. And if you do not have this ideal, your philanthropy will not be stable, it will be transient. Now, this multiplexity, since it's something that's not only for Muslims, in fact, we can call this God-centeredness. Other people have their own transcendent ideals, something larger than your ego, larger than your nation, larger, as you know, the biggest thing we can go to is the humanity, and what will make you actually stable there is to have something that connects you all, and that is our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now in this era of AI, the classical questions still are valid, and in fact they are facing us with even more force. The question about what is the world, what is a human being, what is the purpose of a human being. Because if we are to do ethics, if we are to do governance, we have to think about what are we using technology for. Because if you don't have that criteria, you cannot develop a system of judging this is a virtue or this is a vice. So this again goes to the ideals you choose. For us as Muslims, our ideal is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we have revelation which tells us about what is a human being, what is the purpose of human life. Other people also have to think about their idea, and usually, later on I will describe how we think that we don't live in the era of religion. Currently, we do live in the era of intense religiosity, but the religiosity is hidden away. It's everyone is following the religion of progress, the religion of technology, and the religion of nationalism. So everyone has an ideal. Human beings, by their nature, their actions are not random. They are motivated by some ideal. So that is, we are using purpose in this sense, that what motivates and directs you to perform action. And what is it that directs the people of a group to come together and agree on an ideal? And what is it that makes a nation come together? And what is it that brings everyone in a millah together to agree on something as their constitution, for instance? This is the self-making we need to talk about. And Allama Iqbal calls this the khudi, and he says that an individual has a khudi which makes it an individual, and a nation has a khudi, because if you are just a collection of people without anything tying you together, you're not really a nation. Then we also need to think of practical wisdom. How should we act? So all of these questions, they are related to AI ethics and AI governance. And people, even in the AI community, they know that we have to think about the question of purpose, because if our AI has to be beneficial, and we create an AI, and these days we talk of agentic AI, and we say our AI will take autonomous action. We just give it a task, and it will just go ahead and do whatever is necessary to execute it. So Norbert Wiener, a very famous mathematician who worked on AI, and his version of AI was called cybernetics. He said that if we are to create a mechanical agency with whose operation we cannot interfere effectively, it might be a black box like we have modern AI, we had better be quite sure that the purpose put into the machine is the purpose which we really desire. Now, the question is, what is the purpose of the technology? If we are using it individually, what am I using it for? If you are using it as a school, as an organization, what are you using it for? If you are designing it, what are you using it for? If you are the minister of IT or AI in your country, if you are there in some international agency on AI, we have to think about how is the technology that I'm working on going to be used? Who will benefit or suffer from it? How much and what social impact will it have? It's not really sophisticated to think that technology only brings benefit. In all technology, there are winners and losers. So we have to think about this, and we have to see whether the fruits of technology are they equitably distributed or not, and what will happen to people who fall behind. So this is the idea of al-ray al-kulli, and Imam Shah Waliullah in his philosophy continuously describes this as the basis of the wisdom which underlies the prophetic wisdom as well as all of the other people in the world. Like we know that all of the different people, they have been sent prophets and they have wisdom traditions in their nations. So all of them, they have emphasized that we need to look ar-ray al-kulli, which we may call a systemic point of view, that you look at the larger picture. You also take the long view that, okay, what I'm going to do, how will it affect people now? How will it affect people later? And what is it that it will create for the different people around the world now? So these days we live in the era of religion of technology. We may call such technology autotelic, that the technology is its own purpose. You just create things for novelty. Every day we have some new release. Any company, if you ask them, why are you going so furiously and you've not really done any safety check, they will say, if we don't do it, then China will create something and we cannot afford to, get behind. So we do have, even secular systems, they have norms, values, and authority. So in a sense, they are religions too. And the unexamined religions of modernity is hyper-individualism. And this is the bane of the European society, which is now, in fact, the global culture because of the Eurocentrism across the world, in the universities, embedded in the AI. The Western world these days, its main crisis is this focus only on the individual, disconnected from everyone else and from the planet. And this has created many problems. And also the religion of economic growth at all cost, technological solutionism, the religion of power. So the main idea we need to think about is, what is it that will be the foundational system of meaning and values for the AI that we are going to develop? Is it going to be profit, power, or what I mentioned, the multiplex approach, Khudaparasti and Insan Dosti, that being devoted to God and and doing philanthropy, thinking of what is it that I can do that will bring the fruits of technology to everyone in the world so that they can live a life of dignity. They can have the resources of the world to create ease in their life. So Shah Waliullah calls this irtafaqat, ease in their life. So technology is to be used to create ease in the lives of people, not luxury, not excessive luxury for just the elite and excessive misery for the poor. So now here we see various facets of multiplexity. I highlight this because we have done, Sheikh Rajab and I have done some work on health as well, on education as well. And we can think of these as aspects of multiplexity, that we look at things holistically, how they're connected to each other. We don't see things as isolated, discrete, or just as fragments. This would be like taking a partial view. A holistic view looks at things together and thinks and looks at interactions. When we take a multiplex view, a key to making this appropriate for open civilization is that it is open to imagination. It's not, everyone is not alike, everyone is not standardized. The future is not like the past. Allah Ta'ala is creative. Allah Ta'ala says every day Allah Ta'ala is in a new creative role. So a human being similarly is not static. So this is openness to imagination. There is possibility, there is ambiguity. So people do not like ambiguity, but language, for example, has ambiguity. So there are people now who want to have language just mean one thing, have law just mean one thing, have everyone in the world just act in a single standard manner. That's actually maiming the diversity of the world. We want to keep the diversity, manage it in a way that actually helps us get the fruit of diversity. There are some harms of diversity as well. If there is no communication, that's a problem as well. But in all these aspects, multiplexity is, I will talk about this, that we take a both-and approach. We have the benefits of certainty as well as of ambiguity. Also, multiplexity is open to life. So these days, we live in the world of machines. We live in the virtual world. We live in tablets. We live surrounded by screens. But multiplexity allows you to be in the presence of reality. So this is a very different feeling. And the Western knowledge has emphasized more the inanimate and the mechanical. So this is the world of things, but we also need to be aware of and in sync with the animate and the living, which is the world of flow. So when we talk of multiplexity, we say both these things. We use machines, we use mechanical methods. However, we don't think that human beings are also machines, because if we do that, that's a problem that has many downstream negative effects. So we need to have reductionism plus holism, because science is based on reductionism. Science is based on analysis. So we don't say leave science. We say don't think that the analytical science is the only science that is possible. Open up your imagination, see the things in their whole. It may be more complex than just looking at things separately, but if you just look at things in a reductionist way, you lose sight of the whole. And the whole is not simply the sum of the parts. That's the main idea of multiplex systemics. So I think I'll go over time. So I'll just finish on time, and maybe if there is interest, we can come later on, cover more. So when you have questions, you can ask questions. And when I'm going over time, please let me know. I'll finish and then we can go to question answers. So now I've been critical of AI. So some people might think that I'm anti-AI. So again, we need to have a nuance. I'm a computer engineer. I make use of AI. Even in this presentation, I've made use of AI. I work with AI. However, we need to know that we have to be critical in our understanding and in our engagement of AI. So the ills of AI, some of them are actual, some of them are imagined. So for instance, a lot of errors, they also occur because people do not know what an AI is and what is it that we should go to an AI for. So if you go to an AI and ask it questions related to things it's not appropriate for example, an AI cannot be your friend. An AI cannot be your companion. An AI cannot empathize with you, okay, even though it can simulate that. Also, sometimes we do not know of the limitations of AI and we have too much confidence in AI. So that I've just tried to show that here, that Mullah Nasruddin, you probably know Mullah Nasruddin, the famous character who makes silly mistakes but also teaches us about some wisdom. He once was walking around and he was just um, looking for something under a street light, and people came up to him and said, Mullah, what are you doing here? And he said, I'm looking for my key. So the person just asked, did you lose it somewhere here? Mullah Nasruddin said, no, I lost it in my home, but there is darkness in my home. So here I have light, so I'm looking at it here. So we are like that as well. Sometimes where the light is more, we search for things which we know they cannot be there. So if we search for companionship, if we search for absolute truth, if we search for omniscience in AI, so we are under the proverbial street light. An AI cannot be omniscient. It's a human crafted machine. It is fed by human beings. It's continuously updated by human beings. It's thoroughly human. Okay. And human beings, we are contingent beings. Okay. And if you just mix up lots of things, it does not mean you can predict the future. So we need to have this literacy of what AI can do. Another interesting example I have is from Allama Iqbal's poetry. So he cites another Persian poet, and he says that if you want the lounge of your house, or the sehen, the outside area of your house, to be full of sunlight, do not build a wall in front of the sun. So if you build a wall in front of the sun, you will never be able to see the sun. So that is what we also do. We try to go and look for things which are actually there in other places. We move away from the revelation. We move away from the normative principles. We move away from the spirituality. And then we have something missing, and then we look at AI, but the problem really is not where you're looking for. So this Iqbalian analogy highlights that you need to know the limits of your tools. The fault is not in the light. Here, if you are unable to find the key, it's not the fault of the light. You're looking for it in the wrong place. And the light is a light, it's not the sun. So if you want to have access to the sun, you need to take down the wall you have in front of the sun, and then you'll be able to see it. Okay, I will just talk of the three kinds of multiplexities I wanted to talk about, but I think that will take a lot of time. So I'll just give you an introduction. If there is interest later on, inshallah, I can come again. So these are the three aspects. I have highlighted something about systemic multiplexity, which is this idea that to understand something, we need to look not only at things partially, we need to look at things in their own entirety. If you want to create a philanthropic AI, it cannot be just one tool that is operating in a capitalistic system. You need to also make an effort to ensure that the overall system in which the technology is used is also friendly to human beings. Otherwise, your technology will not be able to do much. Now, I know people would say that, as an individual, we cannot do much. But a system is composed of many individuals. If everyone says we cannot do much, nothing will happen. So you need to just think of what you can do. You can influence people. You can participate with other people. And think of how change can emerge. Also, when we look at systems, we not only think in linear ways. and especially when it comes to AI governance, we should not think only in top-down or bottom-up manners. So this would be a uniplex approach. We look in terms of a polycentric approach where we have many things interacting with each other, in which you have the basic imperative is not to control other people. The basic imperative is to empower people. That's a very different paradigm. And Sheikh Rajab has written on this that the Islamic governance system is not um, created like a pyramid. It's more like a circle where you don't have a single center of authority. And the general paradigm is of service and of empowerment. And that is the model I think we need to propose. As researchers, we need to come up, first of all, theorize it, and then we need to have various case studies that implement it, and then we can have different implementations. And piece by piece, we can work towards this ideal of a God-centered philanthropic AI. Apart from systemic multiplexity, which I've talked about, the other thing is we need to be open to perspectives. Often, if we just study in a Western university, and typically our people, they just take engineering or any STEM degree or a medical degree, they do not realize the importance of diverse perspectives and how diverse perspectives they complement and complete each other. So when we are talking of governance, when we are talking of a society, then you need to have both and thinking, not either or thinking. Either or thinkings uh, lead to deficient or narcissist systems. And you have something that is good enough, but eventually in the long run, it will have problems. And you'll go to the other extreme. And then it will look good for a little while. And then it will create problems because both of them, they are deficient. What you need is a both and approach that is customized for your particular context. So this is something that is part of multiplexity. We call it horizontal multiplexity. But if we have a both and approach, we may fall into the problem of relativity that, okay, it does not matter, anything you do, or you can take up everything. However, when we are dealing with values, you have value ordering as well, where you can think of higher values that direct certain other values. So this is also called fiqhul awlawiyat. It's also called different levels of necessity. So this idea of being open to transcendence, where you think that you can become spiritually better, and the higher it guides the lower, and the akal kulli, it guides the akal juzzi, where akal kulli means the universal reason, and akal juzzi means the particular reason, the calculative reason, which is just optimizing for a local objective, not for the global objective. So I'm just going to show you the 3 dimensions, and then I'll open to questions. Even though I had prepared for a longer presentation, but it would be very difficult at this stage to complete that all.
Thank you very much, Professor Junaid. I really appreciate your efforts to expand multiplexity to AI and engineering. So this presentation should be understood as part of ethics of technology, and whether technology should be monopolized by the hegemons, and technology empower them more and more so that they can exploit the rest of the world, or there should be fairness and justice in the way technology should be used. And also, this presentation was very useful for us how to make sense of AI, because AI emerged in another civilization. It is developed by other people. Now we are consumers of AI, and how should we deal with it, and how should we approach it. So your critical approach to AI is very important. We should not reject it completely, but we should be aware of the risks, dangers, and the drawbacks involved in it as well. And this your approach contributes to ethics of technology, ethics of engineering, but also AI ethics, and it's rooted, in our tradition, in our religion, in our civilization, as you mentioned, Khuda Perest and Insan Dosti, and also in the service of humanity with the spirit of Futuwa. And the ultimate goal is to build open civilization. So AI is a tool, and it should be in the service of the whole humanity, not just a group of capitalist hegemons. So thank you very much for your
Jazakallah khair for
presentation.
the clarification.
And
Thank you.
inshallah, if there are questions, we can continue with them. But I would like to excuse myself because I have another meeting to attend. Inshallah, we should invite you again to continue, because as you said, you had to skip some parts of your
Yes.
presentation. Inshallah, in the
Yes.
future, we should have the blessing of hosting you again, so that
Jazakallah khair.
we can
Would be my
benefit more
pleasure.
from your knowledge and experience. Jazakallah khairan, and assalamu
Jazakallah
alaikum
khair. Thank you
wa
very
rahmatullahi wa
much for
barakatuh.
coming.
Alaykum
Jazakallah
salam
khair.
alaykum salam wa barakatuh.
So I think I'll finish here, and inshallah, if there is interest, these three dimensions I have in my presentation, details of them. However, I think it will take a relatively long time to go over that. So inshallah, we'll finish here today, but I'm happy to answer questions related to what we've covered. And if there is interest, we can talk of these dimensions later on in another future lecture.
Thank you so much, Dr. Junaid. There is one question. Summer, you have your hand raised, so go ahead. You can.
Yes, please.
Yes, assalamu alaikum. Uh, First of all, thank you for the really informative presentation. Excuse me, I'm a little bit sick, but this is a very interesting topic for me.
I'm sorry, Samir,
Also,
your voice is
from a computer engineering background.
I think he was cut from the Zoom, so I apologize for that. If there's any other questions, please feel free to unmute or type in the chat what your questions are.
Assalamu alaikum. I had like a question. So I think Dr. Rajab in his comments, he pointed to it. And this is AI is not as it is today. It's developed by people who have a completely different perspective, worldview, right? Religion, even. They actually have a complete different religion. So when we try and I would say, like, is it wise to try and kind of bend this to our perspectives.
Yeah. So you mentioned that historically AI has been developed starting, let's say, 70 years ago, the initial work in America and other places. And currently, after a lot of development, we do have very strong technologies. So your question is whether we should think of using this technology or we should not use this technology. Is that the question?
Yeah, yes, we can
Okay.
answer that.
So I think, I was referring to Imam Shah Waliullah and his philosophy of irtifaqat, and in which he also mentions that we should benefit from science as well, inventions which other people have made, ijadat. So, for example, automobiles have been invented, and we have various other technologies which have created facility for many human beings. Similarly, when we talk of AI, it's a mistake to think, as I know you are having AI background, it's a mistake to think that AI is just LLMs in its modern form, or it's just one kind of a thing. AI is in fact a moving target. Many of the technologies we use on Google or on our phone is actually quite advanced AI, but now we don't refer to it as AI because it works all of the time. So, technology, firstly, this thing that AI itself is many different things, and it has many positive uses as well. There are kinds of AI which do not work like a black box. There are kinds of AI which work like a black box. Sometimes there are trade-offs involved in the choice of AI. So I think AI is a technology for all humanity. Now, the thing is, when people design it, their own worldviews, they do come into the picture because they are creating something from, they're making ethical choices even during the design. Now, this thing, we can do it in a different manner. If we think something is trying to do something, or a technology has been designed in a way that is conflicting with our worldview, or it's violating the dignity of people, or if it's impinging on the privacy of people, or whatever way we think it's harmful, we can come up with an alternative technology. So my call today was not to avoid technology as such, but to redirect it and to reframe it in a way, and everyone can do it in their own manner. Firstly, we can have this literacy through which we can recognize, have this literacy of what AI is, what can it do for us, how should I interpret the answer of AI, what should I think about AI, and where is it appropriate for me to use AI? This question, because sometimes we over rely on technology too much, and our own skills, they do not develop as much. So as an individual user, as a parent, as an educator, and we do have this responsibility as nations to come up with technology that will be making our people secure as well. So in this era, we absolutely need indigenous technology, which is designed from our worldview. And another thing I wanted to say was that we need to create something as an alternative for the world. Currently, even if we have indigenous technology, it's more of the same. It's just the same thing at a smaller scale, but there is no real diversity here. So what I'm saying is, we should think of something which is authentic to the Islamic tradition, which can give us something that is truly universal, which is, God-centered, and it is for all humanity. So we should visualize that and in our different domains, we should try to come up with something. So that is how I would answer your question. Thank you for it.
I think because it is 12:13, we have one last question. If you're okay with that, Dr. Junaid, in the chat, and I can read it. It's
Yes.
the question is for early CS researchers and PhD students, what would you advise is the most important niche focus for research from an AI governance and safety perspective? Should the focus be on training complete new models aligned to our values, or should the focus be aligning the output of current models to our values?
Yes, that's a very good question. So I think so. One thing I would say is that it's another thing that Sheikh Rajab also says, that we need to have scholars that are well versed in both the traditions. They need to be rooted so that they know where to learn from, and they know how to navigate revelation, for instance, to get these normative principles, and to learn from the literature about the ethical principles we have. And then you need to translate it somehow into these technologies. So the first thing is, be a Zul Janahain, two-winged scholar who is well versed in CS as well as in the Islamic sciences, and to think and learn about design thinking, to learn about systems thinking, and to uh, publish in the top venues where you propose alternative models. So there are conferences in the world which focus on ethical AI. There are conferences which focus on AI governance. And there we can go and describe that, okay, most of you folks, first of all, we should build alliances because there is a lot of good work. Naturally, people are moving towards more sophisticated kinds of AI. And for example, there's something called human-centered AI. There's something called humanity-centered design. But unless it is, again, those people are well-intentioned, but we can propose something as well from our tradition. And I argue that unless we are God-centered, we cannot have this stable philanthropic AI, which is going to be sustainable in the face of dynamic disruptions. So my suggestion would be to look at places which are analyzing AI from a social technical perspective. There are conferences like that, there are journals like that. And this is a great field to get into as a researcher. If we have, inshallah, if you go through this model and you go through your education in this way, later on you can influence governments as well, you can talk to people as well, because even though in the various Islamic countries in the Gulf, we have a big push for AI investments, but it's more or less the same technology. It's not really an alternative, and we should be looking at doing something that is true to our Islamic tradition and is true to this mission that we have been given as the Ummah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where Allah Ta'ala says, "Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas." You are the best of people, best community which has been sent forth to benefit humanity. And that angle is not really emphasized much. So doing something with that in mind becomes an ibadah as well. And doing top quality work will influence people. It will show them that, okay, this is something we can engage with, we can learn from. In a future lecture, if we have it, I will talk about reconciliation which is a generalization of the concept of alignment. We currently have in AI something called alignment, where the output of AI is aligned with human values. But we require reconciliation, which is a more dynamic, systemic version of alignment. And this reconciliation has to be done not only at a technical level, but also at a personal level, because we ourselves, we require reconciliation between our animal self and our spiritual self. So we have to develop a society which is virtuous. It is composed of virtuous people, and they're using technology for virtuous ends and for creating justice in the whole world. So inshallah, may Allah Ta'ala give us tawfiq to pursue this vision. So that is what I would say to our student. Thank you. And thank you for the questioner.
Thank you so much, Dr. Junaid. And I think with that, we will close our program. Inshallah, we do hope to have you again for another Usul Talks. And thank you everyone for joining.
Jazakallah.
I pray you all
Thank you
have a
very
good
much.
Jummah. Assalamu alaikum.